people ill, and still they're putting them off. It's not right.
And Norma, you're going to hear more and more about the need for third-party health studies and environmental impact studies. This isn't over, Norma.
But they're still putting them off, and it's not right.
Yeah,
You're
I
right,
agree
Norma,
with
it
you.
is not right. Ben, can you say a few words?
Yeah, it's great to see such a big crowd out here today to really have a voice, to show what's maybe the right thing to do. When you think about it, what do they teach kids today in school? The first thing about being green, it's to reduce, to reuse, and to recycle. Now, the issue the CAW has here is they have a facility that's 20 years old, that's maybe not as energy efficient as it should be. So instead of maybe retrofitting their building to reducing the need for electricity or whatever else is causing their bills to be so high, what do?
Rip off the taxpayer.
Well, that's one thing. We're going to put a wind turbine up to offset the cost of their electricity. What they should do is aim to have a world-class facility that's LEED certified, that's energy efficient. Okay, that's the right thing to do. That would solve a lot of their problems. Okay, that's the right thing to do. The CAW here, most would agree, has been a good corporate citizen in the community for decades. They've brought thousands and thousands of people to our community for training, who've come back for holidays, who've maybe retired here, bought cottages, and have done the right thing. Okay? What they've done here is they've taken a wrong turn. And I think what everybody's here saying today is, CAW, let's take another look at things. Let's try and do things differently so that they can be once again accepted as good corporate citizens. That's really what we're asking them to do here today. I think there's a few things they should do. The first is to have a moratorium on this wind turbine for at least a year. That's the very first thing that I think everybody here would ask them to do. The second thing is like I mentioned earlier, look at alternatives to reduce their impact and their footprint on this facility here. And the third thing, and I think probably most important, is to have an open public meeting with all the residents in Saugeen Shores to let everybody air their concerns and also let the CAW, plead their case, if you'd like. So I think those are some things that would be effective. It's really up to the CAW to do the right thing here, to do the right thing for the community, and I think I'll leave it at that. But you folks here today, you've made your point. You've made your point that you're not really interested at all in having a 300-foot turbine next to homes. And if you go onto the CAW's website, you'll see a lot of instances where they promote the health and safety of their workers. Okay? I think what we're all asking here. Well, they have their timeline on their website. But I think the important thing is we're now asking the CAW to not only be concerned about the health and welfare of their workers, but how about the health and welfare of their neighbors? I think that's about it.
The other thing is the Liberal government is big on bullying. What the heck is this? This is bullying the neighbors in this.
You said it. Well said. Yeah, definitely.
And this is a need to use visual proof. What's that okay to do something directly?
This government doesn't care. Never in the history of Ontario and the history of Canada, one issue has divided community, churches, even families. Green Energy Act. The war brings people together, but not Green Energy Act.
Here, here.
This government has to go down next time.
We have a bit of a prepared statement, and if you'll bear with us, Karen Hunter, who's involved in our SCOP resident advocacy group, would like to share those with you at this time.
I asked several people to come here today to talk to you about what it's like to live too close to a turbine. And I'm thankful that some were able to come, and you'll be hearing from them. But let me tell you about some of the things that some other people responded to me. Lori Gillis of Flesherton was one of those people. And this was the email she sent to me. She said, people in this situation are tired. They're sick. Many have spoken out already, and they just don't have it in them to keep doing it over and over. They have great difficulty just keeping up with quote-unquote normal life. She said, I wrote a letter to the editor on behalf of Wind Vigilance for Ontario Communities, which I welcome you to read to the community. So I'd like you to hear Lori's letter.
Can't hear you.
Sorry? Okay. I'll try. Move closer. Cuddle up. I'll try to yell. Here's her letter. She says, what's it like? I have tried to explain as best I can some of what people have experienced when industrial wind turbines move in next door. I don't think I've succeeded. If people truly understood, they would lay on the road or strap themselves to turbine parts or do anything they could think of to try to stop anyone from building a turbine in this province far too closely to homes, schools, and towns. Some think they can decide to tolerate it, that they'll be okay, as if they have a choice and control over noise and vibration assaulting their body and brain. Some think more insulation or burying power lines or plain old willpower will overcome this assault. Some think you have to be prone to other problems before it will affect you. Some think they're so healthy and strong that they'll be able to handle anything. Reports from across the province and the world don't bear any of these statements out. I've just heard from another who has, after fighting valiantly for a long time, sold their house with the hell and torment of emotion that comes from being forced into ill health and then forced to leave a dream, or shall I say a nightmare. Try to sit and take that in for a few minutes. Try to begin to imagine what this would do to you and your family. How would you manage your job and your life if you're hardly able to function through the day because you can't sleep anymore? You can't think anymore because you constantly feel unwell. Because you're so nauseated you can't keep food down, or your head hurts so badly you want to jump off a bridge. What if you needed to take care of family members who are ill or in need, but you just don't bring them home because it's toxic there? Imagine being completely ignored or denied and dismissed after 2 solid years of firm but polite communication with ministry people, MPPs, etc., asking for help because you're in this desperate and devastating situation through no fault of your own. Then imagine listening to the likes of Dr. Colby and King, literature review doctors who won't talk to you, Tyler Hamilton, media person, Chris Stevens, special interest group, and McGuinty and his cast of cronies, politicians, tell everyone there's no problem with wind turbines in health over and over again. How would it sit with you to hear them say that people who are getting paid to host turbines are just fine? This is not true, by the way, but it becomes another verbal assault and an insult to you because no one could pay you enough to live like this. Imagine sitting during the few times the turbines are down and not running, tensed and waiting for the assault on your body to restart. Imagine the bittersweet joy of hearing a bumblebee and the wind in the trees without turbines whomping in the background, knowing it's not going to last for long. The Premier of the province calls you or your sick family members a NIMBY. How does it feel as McGuinty looks directly in your eyes as someone who's been forced from your home by his turbine crusade while you're holding a sign saying, I want my home back, and smiles and waves to you as he boards his big election tour bus? Your doctor changes the subject and becomes distant to you when you try to tell him or her why you're sick. You want to cry as you leave the office humiliated. After trying all kinds of legitimate means to make your home healthy again, you finally move out. Sometimes for good, sometimes being compensated, sometimes not. Imagine all of this swirling around you as you finally had to move out of your toxic home to find some relief. That was her letter.
The pure evil in what the CW is attempting to do here is that they're in full open knowledge that 100 families in this community live inside the 550-meter government legislated safety health zone. Worldwide, The new policies are 2,000 meters. So this is an epidemic waiting to happen in our town. And we truly need to keep up the fight with the CAW, who are in complete denial and in cahoots with the Liberal government that lent them $6 billion to bail out the auto industry. Make no bones about it. This is simply a return favor to Dalton McGuinty by the CAW for that bailout. Make no bones about it. Them giving them a grandfathered approval from 2005 is a complete scratch-your-back political move. Completely ignorant and in opposition to the massive current scientifically documented studies that infrasound, the noise you can't hear, is deadly. Drives people crazy, makes them dizzy, makes them nauseous. This isn't fiction. But unfortunately, they don't have a law like they do for noise that you and I think about. A noisy truck, a noisy Harley Davidson, blah, blah, blah. There's rules for that. But there's no rules to govern the evil of infrasound, the low frequency pressure sound wave. Some of which those waves are a mile long, one wave. So it hits you like a tsunami of pressure and affects your brain. They won't listen, and that is a travesty that has to end. Truly, to address that, and as part of our group's mission, and I want you folks to know, because you're looking behind us at a pile of dirt, at a foundation that's been poured, and it's going to continue, that we will not stop. We have a legal team in place for the long run. We will work diligently in everybody's behalf in this community and not stop until the turbine is not there anymore. There's one thing that the CAW hasn't taken into consideration about our neighborhood. Unlike rural communities where they can bully and push their way through with very few people. We have a tremendous talent pool in this concentrated neighborhood. We have a team of available lawyers who are going to go forward, and with business people's support, and we hope your support, we're going to drive this to the Supreme Court of Canada. We're going to get the law changed and enacted so that there is regulations against infrasound, the sound that makes people sick. Until that happens, the minions run free, and our health is the price that's paid. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming out today. We're going to try and wrap things up at around noon. The plan again that we set on the top of the hill is to march back to the highway in an orderly fashion, where the police are going to close it off again. Karen, do we have any more people that want to have a word here today?
We've got a couple of people that have come. Just if we have time, we certainly.